Hello, guys and girls, and welcome to episode 100 of the FReality Podcast.
Woo!
Congratulations, lads. We made it through 100 episodes of this fine show. Thank you to everyone that supported us, by the way. We all can't thank you enough for all the support. And we've come up with something special lined up for later after the show to celebrate, which I'll talk more about very shortly. If you're new here, this is a weekly VR, AR, and MR talk show live streamed every Saturday on YouTube, Facebook, and on Twitch. You can catch the show live in VR as well, so you can share the experience with other VR enthusiasts in big screen TV. You can also tune into the show live at 7 p.m. in Europe, 6 p.m. in the UK, and 12 midday in central US. Or check out the audio version, which is available on iTunes, SoundCloud, Anchor, and now it's also available on Spotify. If you have any questions, comments, or feedback during the show, please put them in the chat. We'll try and answer as many questions as we can. Now, it is, of course, time for me to introduce you to the team. First up, be careful, because this guy has a license to grill. He's the barbecue king and legendary VR live streamer. It's the one and only ZimTalk5. How are you, dude?
Hey, Mike. Grilling. You know what my password is for? I'll happily tell you my Wi-Fi password for my barbecue, which is hot grills for you. That's it.
Nice.
Hot
you might
want
to need to explain, because you have this yearly barbecue, right?
I have an annual barbecue. This was our sixth, which coincided with my 5th year streaming VR. So it was kind of nice to have all of that together. You know, I'm a huge Keyforge fan. We actually ended up doing a Keyforge tournament, which I won, which I didn't expect to win because it was really tough. There was a nice little shouting match between me and the wife because we went head-to-head in the finals.
Wow.
Which is always good for a married couple, you know, just to test those bonds. Because we're getting close to 10 years. So there's a lot of anniversaries this year in my side of the world. But no, it was absolutely fantastic. We didn't quite get the weather for it. It was kind of pissing down, to be honest. But we got it early. We got it late. Did 4 different separate grills. And all the food came out great. And I drank too much as usual, so it was lovely. It was really
Are there
good
pictures of that?
Someone might have some. You have to persuade somebody. There's probably a few in chat. So
awesome. Well, glad you had a great time. Great to have you back. Next up, he's a collector of headsets, explorer of virtual worlds, and master of the metaverse. It's my Frisian friend. It's, of course, Nathie. How are you, dude?
These are my Game of Thrones titles.
Yes.
Never ends. You can add a few more a couple of years later with all these headsets coming out.
I know. It's hard to keep up sometimes, you know?
It's getting hard, yeah. And then also the space is running out.
It's true. It's very true.
Yeah.
But you're good?
Yeah, I'm doing fine, yeah.
Good to hear it. Good to hear it. Next up, he can't wait to take to the skies and beyond to share his rowdy science across the galaxy. Say howdy to Rowdy. It's the Rowdy guy. How are you, man?
I'm doing great. Indeed. I'm a bit excited for this one since I think it will be an interesting topic later on to be talking about. But yeah, I'm doing great. I'm doing all right. The weather has calmed down a little bit. It's not as hot as it used to be. It's still warm, but not crazy hot. So
I definitely welcome that. Welcome that. Also, let us know how you're all doing in the chat, and if you've got a little room in big screen TV, talk amongst yourselves as well during the show. Make some new VR friends. If you don't know who I am, my name is Mike. I'm host of the show from Virtual Reality Oasis. We've got a packed show for you today. Some of the highlights include No Man's Sky coming to VR very, very soon. I'm so excited for this.
Oh yeah.
Argos in the UK let slip about the upcoming Vive Cosmos price. Red Matter is coming to the Oculus Quest. Zim's going to give you the lowdown on the latest releases to look forward to next week. And Rowdy is going to give you some Rowdy science with an insight into Neuralink and how that can work with VR in the future. So really interesting show today. But first, of course, let's find out what everyone's been playing this week and their highlight of the week. And first up, of course, is Zim. Have you managed to squeeze in any VR in between barbecuing and Keyforge?
Oh, plenty. We actually set up a 3v3 Rec Room paintball, which I didn't think about in advance. And I had some people who aren't regular VR users, and I had like smooth locomotion and all that stuff on. And literally, it's like spinning plates. You know, once you get the first person all set up and the second person in their headset, and then you go upstairs and you come back, and then someone's like, "Oh God, my stomach!" Like, it didn't work out. That experiment didn't work out. But the thing I'm very happy to report, after some pretty heavy Oculus Quest and like that recent Rift S patch. I had a show recently, no crackle, decent volume in my Quest. So
nice.
I think they shadow dropped a patch which has now fixed it. I'm not convinced it's as loud as it was originally. I think we're sitting around, like, if I had to guess, 80-90% of the original volume. The crackle's gone. And I can stream it with, as I do, I basically strap a lav to my face to pick up the audio from the headset and my voice at the same time. And it's working perfectly again. So thank you, Oculus, for having done that in the background. If it was just a psychological experiment, you win. I definitely went batty for a few weeks there. But that was kind of one of the two things that over the last week I was really impressed with. And the second thing I'd say was I was playing Battlezone yesterday, which is like, unfortunately, a graveyard, and I was expecting to go back to it. I played the original PSVR demo on the demo disc when it landed, and I was like, okay, this is a pretty cool game. I didn't quite get it, I have to say, when I played it on PSVR, and I was kind of like not that enthused. But going back to it, it's like tanks took over from Other Suns or FTL or something. You have to pick your path. At the beginning, you decide how lengthy a campaign you want to do. It procedurally generates that, and then you progress across the battlefield segment by segment. And again, you drop off at kind of supply depots to pick up different types of weapons. But I wasn't able, this is the saddest thing, was there was no multiplayer presence at all last night, at whatever, 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock when we got to it. And I suspect that's probably a permanent state of affairs now, which is sad given the fact that the game, I couldn't really find fault with it. Like, the sounds were great, all the weapons were varied and quite awesome. Even the enemies were neat. There were things coming at you from the air, little motorbikes coming at you with mini cannons. I was in a heavy tank and blasting things apart and having the little fragments come off of them and collecting those to kind of give me digital currency so I could buy upgrades. The whole cycle, like, I really enjoyed it. And all I was like, I want my FReality lads in there with me, 4 tanks rolling down the battlefield, and us kind of taking down this kind of ultimate volcano at the end. It just seems really badass. So, Battlezone, awesome. Have any of you had experience with it?
I remember playing a little bit of it a while ago when it first came out, because it's quite an old title now, right?
Very
maybe
old.
a year or two old, maybe even longer.
Yeah, 2.
But it's made by Rebellion, am I wrong?
It's Rebellion. Yeah, exactly.
So, like, really decent studio. So, yeah, it's a pretty polished game. But I think at the time when it came out, I remember being quite susceptible to motion sickness back then. So I couldn't stomach that much of it. I kind of remember that.
You mean Tractor Ball? Do you remember Tractor Ball?
Oh, God, that was horrible.
Tractor Ball.
That was horrible.
Where you have, what was it, like a flipper on your face, right? And you like move the ball.
Rocket League in VR.
Rocket League in VR.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
Doing the jumps was not fun.
Oh, nice.
That was not
but
fun.
I think Battlezone came out too early for its days.
It's ahead of its time.
But why is it still 30 quid? Why is it still 30 quid? Like, why haven't they? It's 30 quid. It's
why
like,
isn't it just like,
should be a
I don't know,
tenner.
like $5 maybe?
Or even, £8, $10. Like, that would be a great price for it. People would actually be playing it, and there'd be a multiplayer environment. And I'm just puzzled. I hate seeing a fantastic title. You know, we've had that conversation over the last couple of months about a couple of other titles. And it's like...
We have... the Seabass saying in chat, lies, Battlezone came out in 1980.
Well,
yeah, okay, the original.
You got us there, the original, yeah. But the new one
It has got that kind of Tron aesthetic to it, hasn't it? That kind of is what it looks like.
Very Tron, but like the music is really beaten. Like when you're in your tank and flying away, and it's not oppressive either. Like they got the balance right, but it just feels so good, and I feel like a kind of guilty shame of like I just playing this game. It's like when I came across Narrows on the Go, and it instantly became my favorite Oculus Go title. I was like, how did I not know? Why aren't people singing about this game from the heavens? This one. I'm gonna have to find a way to get 4 people together and play this thing because it's damn good.
I wonder if, let's say, VR does go mainstream in a couple of years, will these titles then magically fill themselves up with players, or are they then not?
I think what will happen is that someone else will take that concept and make a new game, and then those.
But what if a developer just reboots their game the moment VR is like completely hyped up?
I'm sure that happened for a lot of developers with the Quest launch. You know, maybe their game didn't do particularly well initially, and the Quest has kind of relaunched their game for them. So
or they get time to launch another platform. The one thing I'll mention is, although originally designed for VR, they enabled it for 2D as well, so you can buy it and play on flat screen, which is always good. It opens that. It's like that Rec Room thing. It opens to players who maybe either don't want to play because, again, it's people who are sim sickness or whatever. So I think it's always a good avenue. Not necessarily just taking your title to another platform, but also opening to flat. So
I think you're doing a great job of like highlighting these older games. You know, you're doing the work that you said that you needed. You know, so
yeah. Well, I think it's really important.
Good job, Sim.
It's not by mistake. Like I do that intentionally to go check things out that had a hearty name, or like you said, like Rebellion as a studio. Like when you see a studio name like that, like this new Akron game that's coming out, which might not be for everybody, but again, given that I've played Narrows on the go, and this is coming out in 2 weeks or something, 2-3 weeks. Definitely going to play that. Definitely going to try and play that with my family. You know, it's one of those kind of multiplayer person in VR per people not games, and I don't know. It's just if anyone in chat, if you have come across a gem that we don't know about, haven't talked about on the podcast, please mention it, because we do our homework and we do strive to find these gems and talk about them. So do air them if you've got them. So that was my week.
And we do help them out too, because when we mentioned Xing, The Land Beyond, great puzzle game, very underrated, hidden gem, I would say. It popped up on the store and on the front page, because the thing is, as you said, there are so many cool games that no one really knows about, and the moment you start talking about them, there is this buzz, and then there is a possibility that it pops up on the front star. And if there's something developers need, it's being on the front star or of like a VR platform.
The same thing happened with Red Matter as well. Can you remember that?
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah,
the day after or something.
Yeah.
Coincidence.
We're going to talk more about that later, of course, Red Matter. But let's pass over to Nathie then. Find out what you've been playing this week.
Yeah, so I played Lucky Still. It's also a hidden gem, I would say.
Another classic, yeah.
A classic. It is a classic. This game is as old as I would say, Oculus Rift Development Kit 2.
What headset did you use, Nathie? I'm curious.
I used the Valve Index because I had, of course, the thumbsticks, because this is a third-person VR platformer, and you do need to play it with a controller, an Xbox, PlayStation controller is supported, or, well, in case of the Index, the knuckles, right? Because you have the thumbsticks. Super nice. Yeah, great. I mean, you can interact with Lucky because you can have these tiny little hands and poke him and wave at him and do things like that. They added that very late when the Oculus Touch controllers launched. So no one really knows that ever happened, but they did update it. And it worked. It worked amazingly. It's still such a great title that is like a blast from the past for me. And also, I think that Lucky, I don't know if you all agree, it's like a flagship, like an icon for VR. Yeah. Like before Quill came around, like Lucky was like, wow, hey, this is Oculus, right? This is what they are going to bring to us. And his name is even based on the man himself, right? On Palmer Lucky.
Do we know if that was intentional, by the way?
Oh yeah,
it must.
Oh yeah,
sure.
Yeah. He was.
I don't think
involved.
something like that can be a fault, or like something like that was like, oh yeah,
coincidence.
That's a coincidence.
No, he was involved, because the first time I got to play Lucky Still was in, I don't know, like 2013, 2014, where they for the first time showed off the Oculus Rift Development Kit 2 and its positional tracking. For me, Lucky Still was the first time I got to experience what it was like to be able to lean into a scene and to be able to move your head, because before that your head was stuck on a stick, right? You wouldn't go anywhere. And that was the moment for me where I was like, wow, this is next level. This is like, the next step for VR, like positional tracking.
I remember crouching a lot, like up and down. Just like I would. Do you remember there was a table and a table that you there was a table that was like a study desk with like a pencil in it and a little plant. And I remember specifically getting infatuated with like looking at the plant and the little pencils and under the desk and seeing I can see where the cable's going, and that was awesome.
That's where people got to try room scale in a way, where you could like. That was for me the first time with this desk where I leaned my head through an object and be like, whoa, I can move through a wall. That's so weird. Or sit in an object, right? And be like, what's going on? Because your brain does not compute at that moment. So yeah, of course, the desk it's not a game though. It's like, it was just a desk and, you could just sit in front of it. But Lucky Still, I thought, was still free. So I made a video. I'm like, hey guys, it's all free, and go check it out. And then I go into the store, and it's not free anymore.
No,
it was. It was for a very long time. And in my mind, for these last 2-3 years, I thought it was still free, but it's not.
Do you know when they put the payment on? Because I went back to it when I was installing the CV1 downstairs, and I noticed, I think it's like 20 quid. It's not cheap.
It's 15. It's 15 euros, I think.
Yeah, there you go.
But I think they did it in like 2017 maybe, because it was a promotional offer. So when you bought the bundle, the Rift with the touch controllers, you would get Lucky Still for free. I think it was even on the box.
Yep.
But I was surprised that they were asking.
I actually never played it. Never played it.
Seriously,
it's fun. It's a fun platformer for sure. Yeah, if you enjoy platformers in VR, it's one you should definitely try.
It's Astrobot before Astrobot came, right?
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
It's the first of its kind. So, but yeah, it's a great title, and I do wish Playful did more with Lucky in the VR space. I remember they made another Lucky Still game, Super Lucky Still, on the Xbox. I think it was even an exclusive there. Now they are going to bring it to the Nintendo Switch as well. But again, for me, I think it's important to have, if a certain character makes it to, let's say, a more mainstream audience, you should use it and advertise with it and advertise VR, right? Like Moz, Quill, Lucky. There are so many other characters that are really
involved that the name Lucky was with the company as edgy it would be right now if they would still use that as I think.
They should do a spin-off series. Lucky gets killed in a grinder.
but what the heck?
It's the start. Then you save the princess.
But seriously though, a character like Quill could make someone buy a headset.
But I mean, Moz did that way better though, with Quill and with the artistic renderings and the way that they use the trailers now to announce the new ones. They've done a lot more with Quill.
They also gamified various conventions where you found Quill and you got an actual model of Quill. Like I saw that on my feed for like 2 years before Quill even launched, and I was like, I'd like one of those, you know. So.
I wish I had a model Quill.
Yeah,
I wish I did.
Yeah.
It's kind of 3D printer just for that.
Yeah, you could. So looking into the chat, we have some peeps that also played a bunch of awesome, juicy games. We have Neil, who played Skyrim VR, streaming it to his Quest, a brave soul. Then we have Steve Drumheller, who played Forza in the Index with his new open wheeler rig, and Fan Attack wheel and pedals. Does Zim approve?
Zim approves.
Oh, I need to get one
expensive.
of those.
Fan Attack wheel and pedals is fucking.
Damn, this guy is the best setup ever.
Yeah, I've seen his setup. He's got a nice rig.
That must have been streaming a Pancake game to a VR headset, though. It's not like VR Forza.
I'm not aware of Forza.
I don't think there is a VR Forza.
support.
No.
Yeah.
No.
But it's interesting. Oh, sorry, go on.
Yes. Then we have Michael, who played Half-Life on the Quest. We have Pro Fisherman, who, wait a second, it's not Pro Fisherman, that's the name of the game. It's VR Pro, who played Fisherman Tale, although that is a cool name for a gamer tag.
Actually, I think Pro Fisherman is a VR game.
It's a game, yeah.
Oh yeah, that's also true. Yeah, that's true. What the heck?
That's made in heaven.
Okay, I'm so confused. Jamie played Fox Machine, and then last but not least, we have Paradise DK, who jumped into Raccoon Lagoon, and he's hooked to Half-Life on the Quest.
Awesome. So you guys played some classic games, and what about you then, Rowdy? Do you play classic games this week?
Yeah, I feel like you guys agreed on this and didn't inform me on it.
Yeah.
I just jumped back into Pavlov because he had a new. Well, I mean, I don't know how new the game mode is, but it was the first time that I tried it. I tried it together with Chris and Viper. We tried the Prop Hunt game mode. Now I know that the game mode from PC games a little bit, but it was hilariously fun to do this in virtual reality, being a barrel and trying to hide yourself from other players. It's one of the most hilarious experiences I've had so far, especially when you get caught and you need to run away as the barrel or try to get a different kind of item. For the people who don't know what Prop Hunt is, I don't think that there will be a lot of people, but anyway, I'll explain it very briefly. is that you got two teams. One of them is the hunters, and the other ones are the props. And the goal of the game is for the hunters to kill all the props, and all the props need to stay hidden from the hunters. So,
and there's a clock, right? There's a time limit.
And it's a time limit based game. So then the first 20 seconds, I think, the hunters don't see anything. It's just black, and then all the props can choose a prop and become that prop. It can be anything, or pretty much anything that is in the game scene. It can be barrels, it can be a computer, it can be a mouse, it can be whatever it is that you can find within that time limit. And then it's a matter of the hunters to find the props by shooting certain things, and then check their health meter, because every time they shoot something and they don't hit a prop, their health meter goes down up until the point that they die. So you need to like talk a little bit and try to figure out where the props are. It's
when
hilarious.
they miss, right? If you are a barrel and you jump around like a madman and they miss, then they lose health as well, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I watched
Go on, Mike.
I was going to say, I watched a bit of Josh Dub and Mully play this, and it looked like they were having so much fun.
Yeah.
It looked like a crazy experience.
I'm racking my brain here, though, because I think it was available in VR. Was it part of Team Fortress or something before as a mod on certain mod servers? Because I think it was. Because I think in DK2 days, I played this, and I think it was called maybe something slightly differently, but I think maybe it was just Prop Hunt. But like that's where the best part about it is when there's someone trying to find you, and they're losing their shit trying to find you, and they can't find you, time's running out, and you're like hopping around behind them as a barrel or whatever, and it's hilarious fun. So I'm glad you're playing it. So it's easy anyway. You just subscribe to the Steam page, right,
It's
Rowdy?
just again like one of those community maps, much like they have like a battle royale mode, or they have the TTT. So it's just, I think at the moment there's only one map that is doing it. I don't know. I mean, I only played one map, so maybe there are more that I just didn't see. Okay. But yeah, it was one map with like an office and some barrels and some cones and like all kinds of stuff that you could be.
Well, what does it look like to be like a toilet paper or something? What is that like?
Well,
if you're a small object, do you like? Is your scale?
Like,
but
yeah,
are you
it scales. It
Oh, it
scales
scales too.
Yeah, it scales you too.
Oh, so you're tiny then.
But you don't pick your object, right? It's like randomly assigned?
No, you pick your object. Yeah.
Oh, okay, that's different to what I played.
Object. So if you get caught or you run away and you manage to hide yourself again, you can pick a different object and become that object then.
I saw this amazing video on Facebook of someone doing a prop hunt in Call of Duty, and you have like this practice range, right, with these signs that move to the left and the right. So he was one of those signs as well, and he was like next to a fake sign, just moving the same way, and no one knew anything.
That's hilarious. That's nice one. So you can play that for free from the Steam VR page.
If you have Pavlov, yeah.
If you have Pavlov, of course. Okay. So the game I want to highlight this week is Half-Life on the Oculus Quest, another classic game, same as Michael and PD. Now, this is all made possible by a mod called Lambda 1 VR, which is available on SideQuest. Now, you've played around with SideQuest now, Zim?
What's Half-Life?
Sorry. Actually, I want to call you out actually, because this week you said that it was overrated.
I believe it's overrated. Yeah, I think Half-Life Half-Life was cool when it landed in 2004. Let's talk Half-Life 2, right? Like it was cool because they had new lighting and all this cool stuff, and they had the zombies and those naughty levels that they had. And then it got to a point like 2009 is what I'm calling. No, but it's no longer cool. But
the original is iconic. It's iconic.
Yeah,
it's
how many
just
times
revolutionary. It's as revolutionary for gaming as, for example, Doom was, or like.
Yeah.
But apparently it's overrated as well now.
But yeah,
I wouldn't play it now. Of course,
it's definitely gotten to the point where it's like if I'm playing, and I've got this 15-minute intro I've got to sit through. Yes, it's iconic. I still like that, but nah.
Okay. Maybe I can change your mind. Maybe I can
go for it. Try.
Wait. So you also think that Left 4 Dead is overrated then? Because that's also quite.
It's not that old. It needs more time. That launched in 2009, and I still remember it vividly.
Okay.
So if you're interested in playing Half-Life on the Quest, you need to use this Lambda 1 VR mod, which is available for free on SideQuest. SideQuest, if you don't know, it's a really handy little tool for Quest owners, which basically allows you to sideload apps and games with just a single click. It's super, super simple to use. But basically, you do need to own the original game on your Steam library, and you need to copy some of the game files over to your Quest directory and then install the mod and you can play it. But it works. And I thought it was just really fun because, like you say, the game's like 20 years old. It's been that long since I played it. You know, I only played through it like once, whereas the sequel I played through many, many times. But I thought it was really cool to go back and see it from a different perspective in virtual reality because there's some really standout great things about this game. So maybe I can kind of change your mind. I forgot how great the audio was in this game. The music is really funky, and the sound effects of using like the health stations and the suit when you like fall off a ledge and it tells you that you've fractured your legs. That's just so awesome. And you know, the great thing obviously about playing Half-Life in VR is that you can aim using the controllers, like 6 Degrees of Freedom controllers. And when you swing the crowbar, it's just super satisfying, like breaking boxes and smashing up some head crabs using the Oculus Touch controllers. And also, like, it's a much scarier game in VR than it ever was in pancake mode.
I found that legit scary because I was a kid still when I played that game the first time, and I think I got as far as like I played the intro maybe like 15 times. I had no clue back then what the game was about, so I thought I was just a scientist going to work, and like I had no idea what was going on. So I played that intro because I liked that. It was 15 minutes, it was calm, and all of a sudden like everything went to hell and like it started exploding and stuff. That was a proper scary game back then. Definitely.
Yeah, like the noise that they make and the way that they jump at you, the head crabs, it's legit terrifying in VR.
Head crabs scare you all the time.
For people who, I'm curious, Mike, how far you got, because for people who haven't played Half-Life, and I'm not going to spoil anything, but there is a sizable alien creature that might do a surprising thing. I'm curious if you got to that part.
No, not yet.
Because that, I imagine, in VR would be quite intimidating.
Yeah.
Now, I did play it. I did side.
Oh, you did? You have played it? Okay.
Yeah. I've been desperately trying to get a bounce server, which is the best multiplayer map in my opinion. I used to host a series of Half-Life and then Source servers. So actually, I followed Tyriel's video. Tyriel Wood, he did a nice video on it, and how you're supposed to know that you're meant to copy files over from your Steam install. They obviously need to point to some better instructions on the actual install page on SideQuest because it's totally blind. But aside from that, and obviously you had a good time with it, I wasn't really attracted to the single player. I did play that for a little bit, but I played the multiplayer. Went into a pool day map, went into a bunch of classic Half-Life maps, very heavily. I mean, there was probably 8 to 12, maybe 16 even players when I was playing it, and it is frantic speed. It's like, it's what Team Fortress 2 was on DK2. Like, super fast, doesn't hold your hand, awesome. Even with the snipe, like the Magnum or whatever, you can zoom in with it. And I'm talking, they take a frame and they zoom it in like this. This is the biggest stomach jerking thing ever. And it's like floating like this with your hand motion. And it's like, you can still get shots off. But my God, yeah. I'm not an anti-Half-Life person. What I'm saying is the chrome has worn off of this thing. It is now old and it is a classic. But like StarCraft, it's a classic. It's not something that now I'm excited for Half-Life 3. Sorry, I'm now into Doom Forever territory with Half-Life.
Yeah. So it's worth noting, like Zim said, there is multiplayer in this alongside the single player. The full game is playable in VR, by the way. But there are a few bugs right now, so just be aware of that. I found that the aiming was a little bit off and that some shots with the guns didn't register.
When did you play it? Because they patched the aiming, I think, before I used it, and it was perfect.
Yeah, I did hear that they were working on a patch to fix those issues.
In single player, did you have the two-handed capability, like being able to two-hand a shotgun and stabilize it that way? Because that's amazing.
I didn't have a shotgun, but I think that the M16 sort of machine gun was one-handed. No. Sorry, it was two-handed. Yeah, I do remember now. No, you could balance it out with two hands. But you're right.
I have to, because you said shooting the guns in Sixth Off was awesome. Even just taking the starter pistol and gangsta styling some like head crabs, like that's awesome. You can't do that. But I had the weirdest thing in Half-Life playing the single player. Like you, audio bit was great. But I didn't, it's really weird. Maybe I was so immersed because Half-Life was foundational, like what Rowdy said. I mean, it was the first game like a movie that you were playing. But it was weird. I was playing it and I was like, this doesn't feel any different to what I remember playing. And I didn't play it in VR before, so
Yeah.
Why is that?
Yeah.
That's weird.
That's also because probably we've been a little bit like spoiled with titles that have been coming out just in general in gaming, and that, you know, your expectations get higher and higher and higher. But as a kid, you remember that sense of awe like that you had when you first played that game, and you don't get that anymore when you play a title like this, I guess.
Yeah. There was nothing like it back then. Yeah.
So this Half-Life project is a different one than that one that they have been working on for years now. That
Black Mesa?
one. That's Half-Life 2, right?
That is still being worked on. The Half-Life VR project, and also Black Mesa as well, still being worked on.
Yeah.
But if you're looking for like more content to play on your Quest, then I would recommend going and checking it out. Like I say, if you own the game already on Steam, which most people do anyway, you just need to install the mod. But just be warned that it is quite intense. You know, if you're new to VR, the locomotion is going to be intense. So if you're feeling nauseous, make sure you take plenty of breaks.
And I don't think they have options for smooth turning. They had smooth motion, but I only saw options for snap turning. Yeah.
But generally, snap is better for nausea than smooth.
It is.
But I was about to say, like, I never use snap. I always turn that off.
I hate snap. Yeah.
Okay.
Snap actually makes me feel bad. Like,
it's funny that different things affect different people. Yeah. But yeah, that is a Half-Life on the Quest. Like I said, go check it out if you're interested. But let's jump into some quick news then. And the first thing I want to talk about today is that after this very show, we're going to be hosting an event in Altspace to celebrate 100 episodes of this FReality podcast. We're all going to be there. So if you want to come along and hang out with us, maybe ask us some questions, there's going to be a dedicated server event in Altspace that you can find in the events tab. That's right, Zim?
Correct.
Yeah. And it's also highlighted in the description of this live stream right now.
Yeah.
You won't be able to miss it if you log into Altspace. It'll be on one of the top 2-3 events. So the other thing I would say is there's a reason. We're all gamers, right? And in our space, which is a party bus, there is a treasure hunt. And so if you come along, you're going to help us beat it. Now, the one thing that the developers have backed off on is their multi-instancing. So unfortunately, there is a player cap of 40. So if you're not in the first 40, you'll not be able to join. I will be casting it. So for those who aren't able to make it in, you can still watch.
Awesome. And we've been talking about doing this for such a long time, so it would be awesome if you can make it to celebrate it with us. So that'll be after the show at 9 p.m. in Europe, 8 p.m. in the UK, and 2 p.m. in Central US in Altspace. You can also sideload Altspace on the Quest if you're using a Quest.
Yeah.
So that is that. So next up is the red hot news this week that No Man's Sky will be coming to PSVR and PC VR headsets less than 2 weeks away on the 14th of August.
Wow.
Finally. The hype is real. Now, this VR support will come in the form of a free update to the base game, and the update is called Beyond. Now, I picked up No Man's Sky a few weeks back in anticipation of this update, and it was 50% off in the Steam summer sale.
Yep.
Me too.
Same here.
Yeah. I think we all saw it and was like, yep, definitely, this is the time to buy it. But there's still plenty of deals around to be found online from CD Key websites, for example. You can generally pick it up on PC for around $20 if you want to be prepared for when the update drops. Now, I've never actually played the game before at all, so I'm planning to play it for the first time in VR.
I only booted it up once to see, like, you know, what does it work, you know, what is like the feeling of the game, and I'm very curious to how they implemented virtual reality into this. I'm really curious about that. I really hope that this is like the first kind of like 2D game that gets proper VR implementation. I really hope that is like a thing. I want my hand interaction to be good.
Everyone who has been talking about this is almost sure it's going to be good for some reason. Mm-hmm. I don't know where that comes from. We still got to see, of course, but
I think like IGN, PC Gamer, Polygon were all invited to a pre sort of press event like a few months back, and they all posted glowing reviews saying that they were very excited for it. But Zim, have you been playing this one before as well, or not?
No, I've held off of No Man's Sky specifically, and I'm over the moon excited for this one for the reason that the games that I count as like my favorite VR games, things like Hellblade, Subnautica, Skyrim, are all games that were initially double or triple A titles, then VR was bolted on as support later. And I know Rowdy has some concerns with controls systems. I generally don't, and I'm a little bit more forgiving on that space. So for me, this thing, I'm trying to reduce my hype level because I'm like, don't get excited and then get your heart broken. But at the same time, It looks really good. We've been through this cycle before with this team behind No Man's Sky before. Obviously, their initial launch was pretty plagued. Everyone knows about that. They hyped it up to the moon, and then there's all those sad trumpet videos. But I kind of buy it. I buy into it now. You know, they usually, if a game like that doesn't do what it's meant to, you give it 2 years in the cooker, and it comes out as something beautiful. So I think we're looking at a diamond now, not...
Yeah.
Oh yeah, but the later reviews have all been quite positive actually.
Exactly.
Yeah, it made a good comeback.
I'm still thinking this launch on VR will be buggy. I'm still thinking that. I'm still thinking it will be buggy. The VR side.
Love the bugs. I love the bugs.
But alongside VR support, of course, Hello Games have also implemented new social and multiplayer experiences, so players can meet up and play together, whether using a pancake monitor or a VR headset. So that's really cool that you can have that crossplay. But a bit like you guys, you know, like I'm just really curious about how it plays. I'm just excited to jump into a cockpit of a starship and blast my way across the universe and just explore some planets and, you know, build some stuff together. Like if we could play together, that'd be really cool. It kind of sounds like the dream game that we've always dreamt of as a kid, you know, being able to, you know, fly across the stars and explore to your heart's content, because the game's practically infinite in that sense,
and
right?
And the beautiful side of this is cockpit games are comfortable inherently, which means that if you're new to VR and you're like, oh, I really want to play this, it looks exciting, but actually cockpit games are one of the more accessible VR experiences. So I'm really hopeful for it. If they delivered, they're going to get a lot of audience on this.
Yeah.
And that's something that still makes me like wonder like how the VR integration will work. Because I mean, I'm assuming it will still be like when you because a lot of the thing is just walking around and collecting resources and that kind of stuff. Is how do the integration work from walking around to going into a cockpit? Like those are things that I'm going to be paying attention to as well, because I'm not expecting it, but I'm hoping that it did something special with that as well, that you don't like just phase into like, oh, whoop, and you're in the cockpit now.
Something that other space sims have not done well in that space is controller support. So I remember like Elite Dangerous took some time to get like HOTAS support and stuff like that. Some people prefer mouse and keyboard. Valkyrie, for instance, never supported mouse and keyboard. So a friend of mine's like, I'm not playing it unless they do mouse and keyboard. And some of you might think you're flying a spaceship with mouse and keyboard over like HOTAS or a controller, but some people prefer that. Same thing with driving sims. Like if you don't, you know, give at least the basic support for the like really popular game controllers, then your launch can be a little bit and that could be bolted a couple of months on later. The thing I'm worried about, the servers on the 14th, I guarantee you are going to fuck up and crash. I guarantee it now. There's no way this level of hype is going to be met without a server crash. They're going to have problems.
Yeah, this is one of those things that, you know, it could be everything we've always dreamed of. And if that's true, then it's going to seriously hamper my productivity. So if you don't see me again after the 14th, then you know where to find me. I'll be exploring the stars.
Next 3 weeks are cancelled. Like.
Yeah, exactly. Rowdy's got a PhD to submit, goddammit. Can't be distracted. So yeah, that is No Man's Sky coming on the 14th of August. Very, very excited. We're all hyped for it. It's going to be interesting because this is going to be the first time we've all played it, and it's going to be in VR. So we'll obviously report back what we think. But if you're an Oculus Quest owner right now and you're feeling a little bit left out because of all the No Man's Sky hype, then don't worry. We've got you covered with a space adventure of your own. And that's because this week, the team at Vertical Robot announced that Red Matter is coming to the Oculus Quest. This is awesome news, right?
Very good.
Yeah.
Especially looking at it is like, what?
Yeah, we've mentioned Red Matter on the show so many times before. Like Nathie said at the beginning, it's kind of one of those games that we kind of hyped up because it was one of those hidden gems. And if you've never heard of it, it's basically like a story-driven puzzle game. You play this Agent Epsilon, who's like an astronaut sent on a secret mission to sort of investigate an abandoned moon base on one of the moons of Saturn. And like the puzzle design in this game is super clever. So if you enjoy puzzle games, you'll enjoy this one. But it's like
the controller design.
Exactly. It's the hand interactions are just next level in this game. Some of the best I've ever seen in VR, in fact, because your hands in game are actually holding controllers because you're an astronaut in a spacesuit. So you've got these kind of controllers that have these like pincers, robotic pincers that come out of them, and it feels really natural and one-to-one to use them.
And it's weird that not any other dev out there has really done something like they did in Red Matter. And what I also think that they did very well in the PC version is the counterweight you have. Like objects don't just fly away. Not everything is super light. You have different forces to play with. It's very polished. It's very solid.
How another dev hasn't copied that crab claw design? Because when I first tried this, I got to demo it. I was really lucky. I was helping out the SciTech Games team for doing Windlands 2 show off at OC4, and just the booth like kind of near them. I got to meet Tatiana and the team from Red Matter,
Vertical Robot, and got to play Red Matter. I know nothing about it. Walked into it. I was like, oh shit! You solved hand presence for me in controllers, and no one else that I've seen has copied that, where you're clutching, as you described it, Mike, you're clutching controls which change based on what mode you select. And then, like Nathie said, when you combine that with this counterweighting system, beautiful. Feels great, supernatural.
It won't work for every game, they implemented it really well in the storyline of because that was also like, you have the storyline, you have the hand-to-hand interaction, you have the audio design. There were a lot of things in that game that were just really well done, well done.
People are asking how long the game is. I know, Mike, you're the only one who I think from us beat it.
Yeah, I think it's like 4 to 5 hours, I believe. The story is creepy, by the way. It's got like some horror light elements to it, but it is intriguing. But the puzzles really are the thing that really stood out for me. But like you say, when you approach these like big space bulkhead doors and you're trying to open the valve, they feel heavy. And like Nathie said, they nail that suit so well. But yeah, it's a great game. I think it's going to look great on the Quest. They've been showcasing some special effects they've been adding. So they've clearly been working behind the scenes a lot to polish this game up, to kind of put it on par with how it looks on PC, because it's a very good looking game on PC. And I think it's going to be one of the best looking Quest games from what we've seen from their little teaser reel that they posted this week so far. So it's going to be a treat for the eyes.
We wait to see how it performs and whether or not the Quest heats up. I'm still curious as developers start pushing the boundaries of the console and finding tricks that help tune their games. Things will, just like on a console like an Xbox. When Xbox launched, the first title didn't look the prettiest, didn't run the best, over time they find those tricks. So this is like one of the first steps that we've seen in that direction, where it's like, well, if it can look that pretty and run well, we've got even better looking things coming at us in the next year or two. So that's awesome.
Yeah, that's going to be coming out on Quest on the 15th of August. So while everyone's playing No Man's Sky, you Quest owners can enjoy a bit of Red Matter.
So in the chat, we have someone who's watching the show right now and says, greetings from 30,000 feet up between the Bermuda Islands and Boston.
Wow, that is epic,
Delta
man.
Airlines.
That is awesome. Like, airlines have Wi-Fi now. That is so crazy to think about. It's also crazy to think about that people don't smoke on airlines. Like, people used to smoke on airlines, back in the day.
Yeah.
Lads, in honor of this, can we get a Flappy Bird for the flyer? Can we get a Flappy Bird for the flyer, please?
We're now part of the... Was this to get part of the Mile High Club? You need to get...
exactly.
You need to watch a stream.
I never thought we would be able to go to, the moon soon.
Amazing. Thank you for letting us know, by the way. We really appreciate that.
Seems legit, right?
Any of you done that as well? Because I've played at 12,000 feet poker, but anyone else?
No.
Nothing, because multiplayer stuff is really cool. Yeah, I guess that's a go or
stuff on that height, but not poker, no.
Not for this podcast, Rowdy. So let's talk about Virtual Link and the Valve Index. Some disappointing news this week, especially for me. Virtual Link, if you're not aware, is a USB-C connector. It was agreed upon as a standard moving forward for all VR headsets. So like big names like Oculus, HTC, Nvidia, Valve, Microsoft, they all got together. They all had a nice little meeting together, and they all agreed that using a single USB-C connector for video, USB, and power for VR headsets in the future would make sense, which I totally agree with. It does. Now, NVIDIA was one of the first out of the gates to implement this new connector to their 20 series graphics cards. So it's called Virtual Link. And there's some adapters out there you can buy actually for the original Oculus Rift from Acell, which converts the HDMI and USB into a single USB-C connector that you can use with your new NVIDIA card if you bought one. It also works on Windows MR, by the way, thanks to a friend of the show, Voodoo DE, for letting us know about that. But however, due to the recent shift, a lot of headsets now are using DisplayPort connections, like the Index and the Rift S, both use DisplayPorts, so these adapters don't work anymore, and we don't have an adapter on the market that works to convert these DisplayPort connections to Virtual Link, unfortunately. So when the Index went up for pre-order, I was really excited to see that Valve were offering their own Virtual Link adapter themselves that you could pre-order with the bundle, which I did. And they said that they were going to be shipping them out separately at the end of July. So I was thinking, we'll get it pretty soon. But yesterday, I got an email from Valve saying, we have decided to cancel the product and refund all orders made for it. We are refunding the full amount of your purchase and adding £17 to your Steam wallet. So I appreciate, they've given me a little cheeky bonus, and they've actually explained why. So this is kind of cool that they've been transparent about it, at least. And they've said that the adapter cable was originally meant to provide an added convenience for Valve Index users, making it so they could rely on a single connection rather than using the separate video, power, and USB. However, for multiple technical reasons, we no longer believe that the product would deliver that added convenience. Foremost on that list is reliability. Our current testing indicates that VR connection may fail to establish in a reliable manner. So they're saying that basically in their further testing, it wasn't really working out.
Oh, that's strange, no? I mean, since this is going to be like the standard for virtual reality.
Yeah.
Like, wait.
And they also go on to say that additionally, Virtual Link technology has not been widely adopted by manufacturers, laptops in particular, where I guess they were hoping that they could infiltrate the laptop gamer market.
Who's going to play a Valve Index on the laptop? That doesn't make any sense.
Well, I recently bought a laptop to play with the Rift S, but again, I have a similar problem.
I'm just kidding.
But it's a small audience, I would say. But it's weird that they're already calling out that there hasn't been wide adoption in it when the technology hasn't even started yet.
Yeah.
And they could have been the ones that helped kickstart it,
Yeah, this seems so nascent. And the thing that I'm again, as a certified electronic engineer, is you specify the specification of the port and what power it can carry and the amperage, all that. The note that I saw that they sent you, Mike, seems to indicate that it's unstable.
Yeah, but we don't know whether this is Valve's implementation of it that makes it unstable, or that Virtual Link as a whole is unstable or not suitable for DisplayPort. We just don't know yet because no one's done it before. No one wants to call it out that it might not work in general, because then you're the one that is breaking the news. So I feel like there's some rumbling going on behind the scenes that we don't know of, because they can all say that they want to support it and they want to, move on with Virtual Link in the near future, but do they really want to? And is it even possible at this moment? You just think with a big backer like NVIDIA that are already implementing it, and having used it like with my original Rift, it was weird timing because the adapter from Acell arrived like a week before the Rift S arrived. So I literally only used it for a week and then I have no use for it anymore. But it was nice because it is just a single connector in the back of your PC, and you can free up other ports, especially if you're running multiple monitors, for example. So it is useful. And personally, I think it's a real shame because I was looking forward to having the Index connected to the USB-C connector and my Rift S connected to the DisplayPort, so I could run both headsets at the same time. But it's just one of those things. And then you called Gabe Newell, and what happened? Yeah, he didn't reply, unfortunately. So Gabe, if you're listening,
typical.
Sort it out, mate.
And hang on. You mentioned something which I think hardware enthusiasts or anyone looking for a laptop might be interested in. So you bought a laptop thinking that you'd use it with a Rift S, is it?
Yeah.
What did you get?
So I bought it. So full disclosure, I bought it as an editing workstation on the go because I was using a Mac previously, and when I was going to YouTube, I needed a decent laptop to be able to run the VR Creator Lab.
So not a Mac then. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, exactly. So I bought a Razer Blade with a 2070 in it, which is a bit of a beast. Nice. But it can play the Rift S from the laptop using the little mini DisplayPort adapter. Works pretty well. That's nice. If you're interested.
Yeah, we used it. I'd never seen those before. I went out to do a poker promotion in VR LA. But yeah, they're really weird. They're super teeny little thing.
Yeah, the mini DisplayPort, yeah, it is for sure. Yeah. But yeah, it's a shame that Valve obviously cancelled this. I thought it was going to be a cool product. Still no word from Valve about the controller issues either.
No.
But hopefully,
maybe like the stability is only for like the higher frame rates.
Could be, but still, for the convenience, I wouldn't mind.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, just give me the thing I ordered, please.
Yeah.
Please.
Hopefully, Acell can make a DisplayPort version of it. That would be super useful. I did ask them when they sent me the original one out if they were planning to, and they did say so. But
so, were you considering actually using your laptop with the Index in any situation, or no?
Oh no, just on the go. Like say if I wanted to show a friend, I could take it around there or do something like that.
Okay.
So Marco has a tip. He said that you don't call or email Lord Gaben, but you pray to him.
Yeah, exactly.
So if we want our controllers to be fixed, then we should all pray together.
Yeah. Moment of silence.
I don't have controllers.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, that is Virtual Link. Bit of disappointing news. I know that Tyriel Wood and Cass and Cherry were all disappointed as well. So it's a shame. But to perk us up a little bit, let's talk about Respawn because they're going to be at OC6. Because this is going to be at Oculus Connect. Now, if you're not sure what Oculus Connect is, it's a yearly event hosted by Oculus in San Jose, California. They generally announce new hardware there, show off the new games, get you all hyped up for basically the year to come, and then they give you updates about how the industry is going and what they plan to do, sort of push forward. So this year will be the 6th Connect. I've been to the last 2. The one that Zim was talking about where he played Red Matter for the first time, which was OC4. Yep. We actually met there for the first time. So Red Matter wasn't the only magical moment for him at the show there. He obviously got to meet me as well.
I remember. It was the day after he calls me. He's like, hey, come over to Mixer.
Yeah, exactly. But it's a great show, especially to meet developers. I think it's a great place to meet developers, talk about their upcoming projects, try the latest games. If you're interested in going to OC6, registrations are open right now. It takes place on the 25th and 26th of September. Tickets are quite pricey. They're $399 US, but it is more of an industry event than like a public event, although you can still apply as a member of the public to go. Now,
so wait. So that means or going to Oculus Connect or buy a new headset that is coming out.
That's a good point.
Yeah, like, as a member of the public, then
that's why they priced it that way.
You're going to buy the headset. Although on previous events, they have given away free headsets, but don't rely on that because we didn't.
Mike, like last time at Oculus Connect, Mike was like, yeah, but maybe they're gonna have something under our chairs. But
when we sat down, Mike was like checking his shared internet.
If you want to get something, you gotta go to F8. That's where you get free stuff.
That's true. But yeah, so it is a great event, especially if you're part of the industry, but you can apply as a member of the public. But this year, Oculus teased about AR. So it's going to be interesting to see if they've got some new AR hardware to show off at the event. But alongside that, to get super excited about, is that Oculus VP Jason Rubin announced that they're going to be unveiling, finally, the Respawn title that has been in the works for 2 years now, maybe even 3.
But did they specifically say that they would be launching it, or they would be providing more information?
Unveiling it, and people will be able to demo it at the show, is what they said.
Okay.
Yeah, so we're all going to be there. Or Rowdy's yet to confirm if he can make it or not because he's got his PhD going on at the moment. But hopefully we're all going to be there. So hopefully we can do a podcast like we did last time from the show floor.
Oh, yeah.
Give you all the latest news from the show. So that'd be really cool. But I thought I'd talk about maybe what we think this Respawn title could be because there's been a lot of hype around it.
It's been 84 years.
Although they've been really quiet about it. I know people that have played it at Oculus and say it's really great, but that's all I know.
Yeah, but every game they play, they like.
That. Yeah, exactly.
Have you ever heard them say like, the games we make in collaboration with our developers are not that good.
Terrible. No, that's true. But so to give you some tips, to give you some little hints, we know it's a shooter, so it could be maybe Apex Legend, which is a Respawn title, or it could be Titanfall, which is also a Respawn title, or it could be something completely different. I've got my thoughts.
A Halo Recruit game.
I don't think it's going to be Halo. But what do you guys think? Any guesses? Any sort of thoughts?
It is a mech game. I do think still it's a mech game.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, go on, Zim.
I was gonna say I'm swinging more towards. We haven't had enough of the the last 15 years of World War II games. I'm gonna swing that way. I know Titanfall.
There have been some rumors around that, yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know that it will, but just for the purposes of like guessing, yeah, I'll take the World War II card, just because I think that like playing things like the original Medal of Honor and stuff like that, you know, in that wave when like World War II shooters were like the thing on desktop, they were really good. We haven't done that in immersive territory, and you know, Battlefield's been pushing a lot of that stuff with the kind of World War I techie sim, and you could do that in VR. And I've seen a lot of kind of the bigger companies now going for safe game mechanic combinations and then just bringing them into VR with their skills and their prowess. And I think that a studio like that could not easily, but with their blood, sweat, and tears bring that title to fruition.
The only thing we really know is that it's a shooter, but we don't really know.
Someone in the chat said Dead Space 4.
I would love Dead Space 4.
I would love to have a co-op Dead Space VR game.
Oh man, yeah.
I'd go for that. I want something horrifying. I haven't done nothing for a long time.
But as far as I know, it's not going to be Titanfall because EA is not involved in any way with this project.
I don't think it's going to be a
Titanfall
specific title. It's not going to be like something that they've worked on before. It's going to be something new,
standalone. Yeah, and also you need to realize that Titanfall 2 didn't sell that well either. So I don't think they want to. You know, but as you said, they have certain roots, and you will see that back in the games they make. The only thing that I am going to say here is that I saw this discussion on Twitter of someone saying, I hope it's not going to be a multiplayer game. And then I was like, yeah, I kind of want this to be a single player too. I want this to be a good shooter with a nice story that plays like a movie, just like Half-Life.
Well, yeah, I think we're all sort of on the right lines, because I pulled apart the teaser trailer. I was like really sort of going through it methodically, and there's some comments that they make in this teaser trailer that sort of hint at what they're working on. So let me give you those sort of like hints. So the first thing they say is war and combat have been part of human civilization since the beginning. People have a fascination for what it must be like. At Respawn, it's about creating an authentic experience. We really want to depict being a soldier in combat in a more fully fleshed out and realistic way. Yeah. We won't be satisfied until we're working on a game that will have an impact on the industry. So I think...
So then it's not a Mac game, though.
No, it doesn't sound like it's going to be a Mac game. It sounds like it's going to be like a military game grounded in realism, whether it's in World War II or a modern day setting. Not quite sure, but I do think, like one of you guys said, it's going to be a brand new IP that we've probably never heard of before.
Yeah, that's for sure.
If this really if this is like the Modern Warfare 4, for example, of VR, then it could prove to be, you know, a pivotal point in the VR industry.
Yeah, but Modern Warfare multiplayer-wise or single player?
No, single player.
What do they mean with like an authentic, like realistic, or like how they foresee it to be in the future, or like there's still like a lot of like gray areas.
When I read this, it sounds very similar to what the guys at Infinity Ward are saying right now in terms of Modern Warfare, the reboot, right? And I'm excited for that as well, by the way. So if they can bring something like that that's very gritty, kind of realistic, then I'm all in for it for sure. So I'm super excited for it. I hope it's a modern day sort of Modern Warfare type shooter, but I would be happy with a World War II shooter as well, like Zim said.
But I'm getting pangs of some of the earlier demonstrations that we got. I don't remember the titles, but there was one where there was like a cave-in in World War I. I think Nathie's played it as well, where you walked along a trench and then you got to this bit and it caved in, and it was this whole kind of memoriam to soldiers who died in World War I. And I think, you know, trench life, those kinds of bits mixed with kind of an America's Army, if anyone knows that game.
Oh yeah.
America's Army, you know, very detailed in terms of, you know, the whole weapon modeling system, all the kind of grueling nitty details that haven't been touched on so far. You can do that even HUD free almost through VR, where you couldn't have done that before, and it would stand out, as you said, Mike. It would stand out as a really impressive title, and it might even be single player. You might be onto something.
We have seen so many futuristic games so far. We're usually not going back in time, although I'm totally open for that, but I feel like it's going to be something set in the future and not in the past.
A Neanderthal.
I do expect it to be a little bit more like slow pace then, now that I hear that saying, like if they go for like an authentic, realistic kind of like, it's not going to be like blazing enemies then, which I think is an interesting approach, because it against like adds to like the immersion and the realism of playing a VR title, because I still think that playing a VR title is very different from playing like a game on like a pancake monitor. Like
True. And we also need to know that Oculus is involved, so they have a certain roadmap too, and they also had certain ideas of how a game should be from a baseline. So maybe they wanted to go crazy and be like, hey, let's do, I don't know, wall running and wall jumping, because there are not that many VR games where you can like decently wall run and jump to the other side. So it also depends. It could be kind of toned down gameplay wise in what you can do. Or maybe it's like, you know, because we have also seen, like for me, Marvel Powers United was a surprise where you could walk around. Well, usually Oculus was always like, okay, people that are new to VR, they got to teleport before they walk around. So it also depends on who this game is for. If they want to have this game as a bundle, then there are certain aspects that will change in favor of the new consumers that are going to play it as well.
I don't know, because like we've seen a lot with the Quest that they've gone just straight locomotion options, like Raccoon Lagoon, for example, is just full locomotion. But
this one has been in development for a while.
Yeah,
so it kind of depends. I hope it's not going to be outdated in that sense.
I think that from a mechanics perspective, I think, Mike, your observation is on. Like, I think that cat's out of the bag. Like, they're comfortable now that people want smooth loco, and they're okay to include that as a standard build. But the one thing that you said in terms of that quote that you gave there, that citation, and what Rowdy was saying, you could go for something that was like either World War I, World War II combat, but like tension. You know, like building on the tension, and like you can't. I've not seen a game do that yet. Like where you're like you're worried about getting your head shut off or whatever, and like really make it a serious title.
Well, I mean, if I'm gonna pick one title that did present warfare in a completely different manner, was Spec Ops: The Line.
Oh yeah, that game was standout. Yeah, for sure. But yeah, I'm super excited for it. I really do hope it's like a modern day shooter. But
yeah, I just hope it has been cooked. For in a way where it's, you know, ready to go, because with the Factor you're waiting for this game for 2-3 years, and then in the end it comes out and then it sucks. And this one has been also, you know, hyped up for a while. And this is a great studio, by the way. This is an awesome studio. I love the studio. But it's like sometimes they wait for too long, right? And
I'm just reading the chat, and I'm loving like some of the suggestions that people like saying like, oh, maybe it's like a parkour game, like mirrors ads beats Call of Duty.
Oh my goodness.
But if you think about it, like say Onward, for example, if you take Onward, like if a game had those kind of gunplay mechanics, but with a really cool single player story narrative, that would be a really cool game. And this is the thing with a lot of the military games that we've got in VR right now, they're all multiplayer shooters, so you have to kind of make up your own story, your own adventure. You know,
I want Bad Company. That's what I want. I'm an old school Battlefield fan. I want like a Battlefield Vietnam or a Bad Company title in VR, please. It's second on my list, down from Left 4 Dead or a Left 4 Dead like equivalent. And again, I don't just want Left 4 Dead ported to VR. I want the Tetris effect of Left 4 Dead in VR. I want them to do new things with it.
No, dude, like bring us a new Brothers in Arms in VR, a Delta Force in VR.
Geez, Delta Force.
Yeah.
Make all the games.
Yeah, I'd love to jump out of the back of a plane with a parachute down into the battlefield in VR.
Imagine being in his helicopter with 4 of your friends, you know, Delta Force style, and then you have to infiltrate into this house, and it's going all crazy. You have no idea what's happening.
Hell yeah.
My jam.
Yeah. Right. So there we go. Now that we've got you all hyped, hopefully we'll find out in 2 months' time.
September.
So that is Respawn, going to be at OC6. Let's talk about releases then. Let's hand it over to Zim for the lowdown on the releases for next week. The games that you should be playing, sometimes the games that you shouldn't be playing.
I've got some of those. You always tempt me with this, and I'm like, oh yeah. You know, anytime there's like not too many major releases out, I go for something a little bit dodgy. Actually, one I included this time simply because of something the dev wrote in their write-up on Steam, and I'll save that one for last. Best for last. So, first up, this one is called the 5 Cores Remastered, which is something that I had no idea about, hadn't seen it before, but apparently it was out previously. So this thing is basically an unabashed Myst clone. So if you're like stuck waiting, if like me you enjoyed Cyan's Abduction and you're waiting fervently for Firmament to come out, which was kickstarted, but that's not coming to us before next year, then this game might fill, your appetite. It's about £20 sterling, so probably about $23. It's PC VR, so you can pick it up on Steam. It's by Mathieu Goubi, and it landed on July 30th, so just a couple of days ago. So I saw this one and I thought, geez, basically you're on a boat, it gets totally destroyed, you must find a way to go back home. A series of puzzles. I would say that before Rowdy jumps on me and starts beating me with a log.
I already saw it.
Yeah,
saw it.
Warning, it is VR supported, so this means don't expect full touch controls. It's kind of like Skyrim in that way. You interact with it in that way. So yes, Rowdy, I don't think this one's going to be for you necessarily. That's called the 5 Cores Remastered. Remastered because this game came out, I think, about 20 years ago. Hang on here. No, the 5 Cores released in 2012. But, this is like an upscale version of it. I think you can play it outside of VR as well. So if someone's like really keen and likes their puzzle games, because there aren't that many of these out. I remember back in the day with Mist and Riven landing and just gawking at the boxes. I was in the Caribbean at the time. We went into this like little air-conditioned computer shop, and I would just like pick the boxes up and like gaze at them, wonder what it would be like. I don't think I ever actually played Myst.
The days of physical boxes, as him, swinging the lamp here, man.
I've got a title today that's landing in a physical box. I've got everything covered. So here we go. Next one is Rad TV, which reminded me of Mad TV. This is another one on Steam, so PC VR. Landed August 2nd, that's yesterday. It's only £6, so pretty cheap. But it's basically hot seat multiplayer. So if you've got a couple of friends out, it's pity that this only just landed now. I could have used this at my barbecue. But this thing is basically 25 different kind of mini games, very much like WarioWare or those kinds of games, but where you're competing against friends to do better. So basically it's kind of, I'll wear the headset, bam, 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 you do the headset, and flip between them. And it gives you a random assortment of tasks, and you try to best your buddies. So it's hot seat local co-op with 2 to 6 players. So it is really good for like a house party or something like that. And actually the styling of the game is quite cartoony, but well fleshed out. And I can say just from the trailer, looks like a fun bit of things between, smashing bottles or stuffing your face with burgers. Looks like a bit of a fun game. I don't know.
Yeah. This is like finally a game where I can unlock more hands. Usually, yeah, it's like, hey, you can unlock 25 different hands according to this trailer. True. I think that's awesome.
Yeah, I saw that and I was like, yeah, I won't mention that. But that's all right. Thanks for picking that one up, Nathie. Yeah, the hands. I mean, it is good to have progression in games, especially like that, because otherwise, what are you shooting for? Some people really don't like.
A couch co-op, right? It's not online multiplayer, because Mike and I were like, oh, wow, hey, fun game, let's play it. And oh, wait, Mike needs to be on my couch right now. Well, that's going to be a problem.
So something that we used to use for LAN gaming, I'm trying to remember the name of it, but it used to use like a VPN tunnel between connections.
Yeah,
maybe
you're thinking of
like
Parsec.
No, it started with an H, but someone who's from like the LAN gaming days of the 90s and early 2000s will remind me what it is. But anyway, I won't labor on it. We've got 2 other games to tell you about. So the Angry Birds Movie 2 VR Under Pressure game is landing.
Another Angry Birds VR.
Another Angry Birds title. We already had some. But
okay.
Apparently it wasn't enough, so there's more coming now.
Wow.
I like that it warns for comic mischief. This one is interesting to me because the straight off thing that I would say I compare it to, for those who are listening and not watching, is Overcooked. So that you have essentially your kitchen in front of you. You're driving a submarine, and 3 couch players, again, this is another couch co-op game, are playing as your crew in front of you. And what are they doing? They're putting together torpedoes, grabbing the loot that the captain, who's the VR player and driving the submarine, is grabbing and storing that. So they've got a number of different tasks, but they're running around. You've got the classic, what's this thing called again? The Magna shot. So that giant magnet that you used to fling the Angry Birds. And so you use that to move your players from section to section in the crew section. And all the while, you're piloting this submarine to safety. And so your job as the captain is essentially to move this thing along safely, gather loot, clear obstacles that can be a number of undersea things, and get to the finale with your friends on the couch, or frenemies, who are helping or hindering your progress. So sounds like it could be a bit of fun.
Are we still talking about Angry Birds?
We're talking about Angry Birds. This is nothing like the other Angry Birds title. That's totally different.
I was going to ask the same thing. I'm so confused right now.
Yeah, so it's weird. It's like they glued Overcooked together with, I don't know, a really basic framework of Subnautica.
I feel like the IP of Angry Birds isn't that expensive because I have seen so many VR games come out based on Angry Birds. And everyone does something else. Sometimes like, oh, do these tie in with each other? No, they're all like random games.
They're very odd. This one, like, after its launch, I wonder how well this thing is going to do. Because it's a complicated title that doesn't, from the title of the game, which I'll read again, The Angry Birds Movie 2 VR Under Pressure. Do you take from that it's a couch co-op local multiplayer game for 4 players, one in VR and 3 co-op? How do you sell this game?
They smoking.
What is this coming out on?
This is PSVR exclusive.
Oh,
yeah. It's just to hype up the movie. I mean, its movie is even in the title of this game.
It's landing on the same day as the movie. So August 6th.
That's a funny coincidence.
This lands. And the weird news, we don't get news like this often. I don't think I've ever shared. So they get the digital release of August 6th, right? Then you get a boxed version of this a month later on September 6th. Weird.
Okay. Weird. It does sound like a fun game, though.
It does sound like a fun game.
Angry Birds, what's going on?
It's a partnership between Rovio and XR Games. $26.99. The price, I think, is punishing. If it was half that price, I think it would do all right.
What is an ad?
What's an ad?
You're paying for an ad. But basically, so one player's in VR and the other players are using the DualShock controllers with the PlayStation?
Yeah.
So you need
and a screen.
controllers.
Okay. Yep. Okay. So you are using the screen. Yeah. That's right.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah.
You know that Astrobot originally was also a game like that, where it was screen versus it's like this demo on the disc. It was all Astrobot.
I'm kind of glad they didn't go that way because it's a niche of a niche. Now I'm glad they've done it because it's weird and that space is actually really cool for VR, being able to do that, especially with, as I've highlighted with my failed Rec Room experiment, with players who maybe aren't as comfortable in VR. You can still allow them to be part of the party. And so now we've got Rad TV and Angry Birds for PC and PSVR. Final game. Drum roll, please. Small drum roll. Thank you. Ninja Legends. All right, Ninja Legends. This had dropped
moves
before.
Mixer. No.
Is coming. Yeah, exactly. Moves to Mixer. So for 16 quid, this is landing for Quest August 8th, and I thought we would share some Quest news anyway. I'm worried for this title, and I will describe it as I play it. So this is the best I can describe it, is a wave slicer.
A wave slicer?
A wave slicer. So
does that include fruit and stuff like that?
There's no fruit, only humans.
Oh, okay.
You have to create basically, anti-ninja genocide with bows and weapons.
So it's not Fruit Ninja.
Not Fruit Ninja. Oh God.
It's just Ninja.
Don't get it confused. But the thing that I have to pick on, this is the line I wanted to call out. By design, there's no running away. There's no hiding. You must fight. But I'm a feckin' ninja! So like, why can't I hide? I don't understand. Isn't that the whole point of being a feckin' ninja? Anyway, so it's a wave slicer. One thing I have to hand to the dev, aside from their summoning of shinobi powers that they call out in the trailer.
Shinobi powers?
I don't know, shinobi powers, yes. There's magic. You can't hide, but there's magic. Is that slicing people up with claws like Wolverine? Looks pretty rad. And you do slice them into like multiple segments, like Resident Evil movie style. So that bit I thought looked good. But does this game entice me? No. Go.
It's not Fruit Ninja, it's Cringe Ninja.
It's Cringe Ninja. And they've even got big head mode.
Oh no, I just saw that in the trailer.
Go buy Sirento instead. I think it was Seabass who said earlier that Sirento has had some material updates in terms of graphic fidelity, extra game modes. Go buy Sirento, I would say. Now, I will try it. I'm sure some of you will as well. Has anyone played it on PC? Because it is out. It landed a couple of weeks ago in July, the PC equivalent. So when it hits Quest, I'll check it out. We'll report back. I'm warning you though. I'm nervous about that one.
So according to the internet, a shinobi is a ninja as well. So it's like the same.
So it's just ninja powers. They're like it's like double entendre with ninjas.
Ninja powers.
Yeah. But yeah, if you're a ninja, future devs, let me hide. Okay. All right. So aside from that, last thing I wanted to say was we spotted midweek that PSVR had some pretty uber sales on. So I have brought for you the top 5. This is Zim's steal of a deal. I'll start from 5th place and work up to number 1.
Okay.
In 5th place for $7.99, The Assembly. If you haven't played The Assembly and you're itching for something Half-Life-esque with a bit of mystery, filling 2 character roles, don't miss it. £8, great.
That one is from Endreams, right?
Endreams, yeah, it was one of their early ones. It's how actually I came to know of Endreams, and I met them in EGX, and they gave me an Assembly t-shirt. And I was like, all right, I'll check this out. I really liked it. So some of you I know haven't played it. Go do your homework at some point. It can be a year from now, but please play The Assembly. It's good. Megaton Rainfall. If you've ever wanted to be Superman and blow the feck out of communities of poor innocent people, I'm looking at you, Rowdy, then for £6.49. Oh, I know you played it. I know. The cops reported you several occasions. Then Megaton Rainfall is a great way to feel. So if Windlands, you go for that Spider-Man vibe, then Megaton Rainfall, you do it for Superman vibe. And they do a really good job of that. What do you think of Megaton for the people out there?
So for those of you out there that have been watching The Boys on Amazon Prime this week, you'll know what I'm talking about when I say that this is like a Homelander simulator. You get to become Homelander and actually wreck people's lives.
You can blow up planets in that game. You can go to different galaxies. It's enormous, that game.
I don't think you're an evil person though. You gotta save actual, like you're talking about ruining the city. I don't know how you played this game, but as far as I know, you gotta save these people.
As soon as you become a god, then you unlock all powers and you can do basically what you want.
But my point is that you can be evil if you want to be.
Oh, okay. Well,
and that's in life as well.
True personalities are showing again.
I have to say,
exactly.
I almost bet my wife. I was like, "How long will it take? Will Mike drop The Boys in the intro, or will he drop it midstream?" It's definitely coming down this week. But I have to thank you, Mike, because over the last 4 months, I've spent that time catching up on every Black Mirror episode, and they are excellent. Yeah. There are some really good gems in there. So if you haven't done Black Mirror, that's Mike's recommendation. Do that. He's now recommending The Boys, which is on Amazon, is it? Amazon Prime?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Also the very first episode? Okay.
Yeah. It's a great show.
What, Black Mirror, first episode? Yeah, I agree.
You missed that one, Nathie. All right. 3 more. 3rd place, Firewall 0 Hour for $13.49. Good.
Wow.
Good bargain for that. I paid a lot. I paid 80 quid for my aim and Farpoint, which is also on sale.
Also remember that by buying this game, Uncle Frank can go to the supermarket again.
Uncle Frank gets some money.
Yeah. Support Frank.
Last 2. All right. Last 2. Blood and Truth, $19.99. That's half price. It's only been out a short while.
Wow.
20 quid for Blood and Truth is a steal. Don't miss it. Is all I'm gonna say.
My VR game of the year so far. That's how good it is.
Yeah. And for £3.99, I couldn't believe it was that cheap. And this is an easy one to miss. Came out a while ago. I think it was a 2016 or 2017 title. Static. That gets my number 1 prize. Steal of a deal. 4 quid for Static.
4 quid.
£4. So it's about $5. That's gonna last you a good. I can't remember how long it took me. Probably 3 or 4 hours. How long did it take you, Mike?
I haven't even finished it yet. It's hard as balls.
Oh my god, yeah. You have to finish that game. It's like Dumper. If you don't get to the ending, you don't even understand it.
You haven't even lived. No,
you haven't even lived.
It's a great game though. The puzzle design in that game is phenomenal.
So good. And Rowdy can't even complain about the touch controls because your hands are fused together in a box.
Yeah.
I mentioned that the touch controllers were brilliant because it's all about the immersion.
Shut up, Rowdy.
And that's it. That's it for this week for releases. We're done there, Mike.
Nice one. Thank you very much, Zim. So let's move on to our first topic, main topic then, and that is about the Vive Cosmos. So just to kind of recap what we know so far, if you've missed previous episodes of the show, because we've talked about it a couple of times before, the Vive Cosmos is a new VR headset coming soon. It uses inside-out tracking, just like the Oculus Rift S and the Windows mixed reality headsets. However, it's boasting 6 tracking cameras, whereas obviously the Rift S has 5. The Cosmos is going to have 4 on the front plate and 1 on either side, so we can expect a really decent tracking volume from these cameras. It has a flip-up display, which very few headsets on the market have that. So that's kind of interesting, especially if you're a dev. I think you're going to appreciate that, being able to flip up and work and then flip down, check what you're working on in VR.
Devs
are going to enjoy that.
Yeah.
It's got a Halo head strap, similar to that of the Rift S, which incorporates their own headphones, which look like they're from the Deluxe Audio strap. They almost look identical. So that is the kind of like design of it. In terms of the panels, they're going to be using LCD panels. So again, like we've seen recently with the shift from OLED to LCD, the Rift S has an LCD, the Valve Index has an LCD. So the Cosmos is going to have an LCD as well.
Perfect sense.
Yep. You know, it's got like a better sub-pixel arrangement, which makes the screen look a little bit sharper and clearer, which I like.
And allows faster refresh rates.
Yep. Although this is going to be a 90 hertz refresh rate headset, they haven't announced any faster refresh rates yet. The resolution, which I think most people are interested in, is going to be 1700 by 1440 pixels per eye, which is slightly more than the Vive Pro, Quest, and Index. So you're going to get a nice little bump in resolution. It's all going to come down to the lenses, though, really, because you know, with the Index and the Vive Pro and Vive historically, they've kind of suffered from like God rays. The original Rift did as well. So hopefully they've solved that and reduced that in this new headset. But what we don't know about this headset, which is the information we've been really desperate to find out, is that if this headset is going to be the first of its kind, in that it's going to be a hybrid headset. You know, this was kind of hinted at back at CES, because they showed a picture on screen that with the headset with a mobile device in it. So it was kind of rumored back then that using Virtual Link, like we discussed earlier on the show, that they would be able to connect the headset to a mobile device. And instead of being standalone like the Quest, it's kind of tethered to a mobile device, but you can also take it out on the go with you or bring it home and connect it to a PC. So that was kind of going to be its unique selling point. But we haven't heard anything about this feature since. So I don't know if it was just kind of...
But if it isn't, then it's just a regular headset.
It's just a regular headset, exactly.
I think it's PC headset then, right?
An expensive one.
Or is it a standalone? No, well, it's not because
it's a hybrid. The guess is that it's a hybrid right now, but we don't know any.
But without a phone, what kind of hybrid is it then?
No, you need a mobile device for sure.
You need a mobile device for sure. Yeah.
That's what we guessed.
But they keep that kind of under the radar at the moment.
Yeah, no one knows for sure. We don't have concrete information on that. Yeah.
I'm interested though that there's two things that stand out to me about this. Firstly, is the cooling solution. All these headsets have done something different on the front, right? Because we saw, active cooling in the Quest. On the Go, we saw, a metal panel that was dissipating passively. The thing that caught my eye when rolling the kind of teaser for this is they show the two connectors plugging into a laptop, which makes me okay, so they're accentuating, they're making a point to accentuate the fact that this is a tethered headset. Which is kind of playing against the whole concept that it's hybrid. There's no other part in that teaser that shows it being a hybrid, despite the previous.
But that's the thing, we can only speculate, and we've been doing that for the past so many weeks. Like it's about time that we start to get like some solid information, that we know like what is this device, what new does it bring to the table, and who's it for? Well, I think those are simple questions to ask.
Maybe we will with all these leaks going on.
Well, this is what we're going to talk about. Like, the one thing we don't know is release date, although I would say it's likely going to be on sale by the end of the year. But the the final question was, of course, the price. Now, this is where Argos comes in. If you're not familiar with Argos, it's like a outlet here in the UK. If you're really fancy, it's pronounced Argus. But they basically posted the headset on their website for sale in British pounds, that it was going to be £699. Now, generally speaking, here in the UK, we pay in pounds what people pay in the US in dollars for tech hardware generally. So same with the Quest, you pay $399 in dollars, we pay $399 in pounds for the 64 gigabyte model. It's just life. We just have to deal with it. It's the way it is. I'll accept your sympathies in the chat. So that would likely mean that it's going to be $699 US for you people out there in the US. Which is kind of interesting because, it's kind of pricing itself right in the middle. You've got the Rift S at $399, very sort of low end PC VR headset. Then you've got the Index at the very high end at like $1,000. This is kind of going to sit right in the middle, between them both, which is a unique place in the market. So I think it's better for them to do that than try and compete.
And it also sits nicely between their own headsets, between the Vive Pro.
Yeah.
But it's got to be hybrid then. It's got to be.
But that's the thing. Like we don't know.
They don't. Why? Like if it's a great feature that you should be using in your marketing campaign, and they don't. So there must be a good reason why they don't do that.
If it's $6.99, which probably will be, by the way, I expect your sympathies in the chat, will probably be $7.99 in Europe, because we're the ones who are getting properly screwed over. But if it's not a hybrid on arrival, then why buy it?
Well, it's just going to be from what it looks like it's aimed at the gamer market. We've said that there's been some confusion previously on like Vive headsets, especially around the Pro, because although it was a business headset, they marketed it as a gaming headset.
What new does it bring then? Like, is the refresh rate better? Is there I don't know? Is there exclusive titles?
The
is
panel's
there
not
gonna
amazing.
Be like more resolution, more field of view? Like,
but what if there is nothing else to announce than what they already announced in terms of specs?
Wait, I know.
Because I mean, CES was the first time they showed it. So much can change in the meanwhile. Like it could be this one headset that runs with a mobile phone, but in the next moment it doesn't anymore. Like so much can change.
You mean tethering to a phone? Like plugging into a phone?
Yeah, tethering. That's what I meant all along, by the way. Tethering to a phone. Yeah.
To their phones, of course.
But then,
okay.
And again, I wouldn't make. I mean, if it's only mobile, then it's going to be competing directly with the Oculus Quest, which is almost half the price here in Belgium.
So it's definitely aimed at PC as well, because like Zim said, they show it connected to a laptop.
Connected.
But it's whether it can do both or not is the key.
What if it's not? What if it's not tethering for? Oh, this is a stupid idea. Well, I was just about to. I was like, what if it's just tethers
for updating your headset?
No, what if it just tethers to like an anchor, and then that just uses that for power? Well, then it doesn't have anything to compute. So that's a smart idea, Zim. Anyway.
The only thing I wonder, let's say it does connect to a phone. Like most people don't want to drain their battery of their phones with this, right? So I don't know why not. Like they have great technology. Why not just put it into the headset like the Quest?
Seems weird.
It just seems weird.
What is it?
It can only work with a select amount of phones, with a select amount of screens. That is a niche and a niche and a niche and a niche.
Another idea, lads. So we've got the wireless, module, right? What if they took that technology and, similar to kind of like Magic Leap, put it on belt level, right? So you have something that's kind of again away from your head. So people like me who are nervous about that, but you've got it. It's a little bit more portable. It's a little bit more. You can connect it to any machine, but you can take it with you. What about like that? So you've got a module that you can tether it straight into a PC, or boom, and it's basically walk around the room wireless, just like for a presenter on stage.
Well, what if they actually use something that you can clip to your belt that is reducing the weight of the actual headset? Because we can all agree that the Quest as a standalone is a heavy headset. Let's say they put parts out of that and they put it on your belt. I know it sounds strange, but that would have been nice for the weight.
We don't have the gram weight of the headset yet, right?
No, I don't believe so. No,
Yeah,
but I think I can't remember which one of you said it, but I think you're probably right in that this will probably come to market just as a VR headset aimed at gamers. I just think this whole rumor about this whole mobile tethering.
They keep it going. Like I think they're like, oh, everyone thinks that, so let's just keep it. Like some people are gonna buy it and still think that's maybe the case. But I'm just like, these leaks are coming out. And then I'm like, you have been waiting with your marketing campaign for so long. If this is the right price, or it's actually, let's say, lower or like higher than that, then of course you don't say anything. But there are maybe reasons right now to, because people all suppose now that that's the price. It could be that it's not.
Yeah, personally, I think the price is probably right. Because Vive hardware has never been particularly cheap.
No, that's true.
But this is using inside-out tracking now, so they don't have to worry about base stations anymore, and it fits right because whenever you've had the original Rift and the Vive was always a little bit more expensive. It's going to be the same now with the Rift S and the Cosmos. It's always going to be a little bit more expensive. But the key thing to their marketing campaign is what differentiates themselves from any other manufacturer on the market.
The hybrid part is the only thing.
Yeah.
The hybrid part is the only bridge between the price, the headset, and everything else. That's like the circle of this whole thing.
But this is my point. If they come to the market with just a VR headset, what's their unique selling point?
Then they lied to everyone and hyped everyone up with nothing. That's what it is.
Did they state it explicitly though?
It was an image in their original trailer. It was in their original trailer.
You see a phone.
And also at the time, Qualcomm was showing off their sort of like prototype of the headset, which this headset is based on.
Yeah, exactly.
And that was a tethered headset as well to a mobile device. I remember Voodoo was demoing it with a tether to a mobile device in some of his videos when he was at CES. So that's where that kind of gave that image some sort of like, backup, some actually solid information, because it's based on this sort of reference designed by Qualcomm. But obviously it's been a long time since then, and we haven't really heard much. We've heard snippets of information, but you're right, Nathie, that their marketing campaign has been pretty bad about this headset.
I do think that $699 is probably the right price for a headset. It's just that there's another very big company that is selling headsets at $399. That makes this a very difficult entry point for any other VR company that wants to make headsets.
That's true. It's difficult. Yeah, no, it's difficult to sell a headset for the actual price.
I paid way more for my original Vive. Yeah, way more.
Yeah.
So that maybe one more unique selling point could be 5G, but that's maybe too early. That's too early for sure.
But I think really, because obviously HTC aren't really funding any titles like Oculus are, I think the only thing they can really do to really push this device is their Viveport platform. And whether that be that, if you buy a Cosmos, you get 12 months Viveport Infinity for free, well, that kind of makes it an interesting prospect.
Yeah, okay, fair enough.
But it's whether or not they're going to pull that off or not. I don't know.
I just, I want it to be hybrid, seriously. But I just question it because they have been so vague in their whole marketing campaign. If this was really a thing, then they would have already used it in their favor. And they don't, and they didn't, and I don't think they will.
Well, that's why I think that
like someone in the chat is saying, maybe it's aimed at the Asia market.
Well, that's the thing. It might be already we don't, as Mike said, we suppose based on the trailers, it's for gamers. But in the end, sometimes, same with the Vive Pro, it's a different story, and then you're completely confused.
What we do know is that Shen, who's one of the sort of people that works for Vive and sort of regularly is like a kind of, community sort of poster about what's going on there. He recently tweeted that he was going to see Marcus Brownlee, which can only suggest that he's going to show Marquez, the Cosmos, and he's going to cover it in a video. Yeah. But it's going to be the rest of the marketing around this headset that really sort of proves whether it's going to be a success or not.
Yeah, I do think there will be this, like what Valve did, this press event where certain people can, try it out.
What is the 5G element? I'm not following that. So what specifically?
I don't know. I don't know what they would use that for, but I just know that they have been experimenting with 5G, and in what way that will work. I think it's connection, of course,
like cloud-based computing as well. But yeah, connection to your PC using 5G makes it a very quick
instead of Wi-Fi. Higher bandwidth.
And then you've got lower latency connection there, which is great for wireless.
In Asia, 5G is the next big thing. Over here, here in the Netherlands, they're still, discussing if they should get rid of an old dish from I don't know what age instead of getting 5G. So it's gonna take a while before it's here. But in Asia, if that's the market they go for, then something with 5G would totally make sense.
As an upgraded wireless communications protocol, I understand now why that would be attractive. I'm wondering what you would need to have on your PC to enable that connection.
They're probably a bit like the Vive Pro wireless adapter. They'd give you like a PCIe card that you just slot in.
That's what I was thinking. It'd be a PCIe slot. Yeah. Okay.
So would this leak from this website of this price from Argos? Would this be a part of the marketing campaign, like what Valve did with all these leaks?
I don't think so.
Or is it just a real stupid accident?
I think it's a stupid accident because according to Upload, HTC responded this week to the leak by saying, "We're aware a price was listed by mistake on a retail partner website. We look forward to sharing more details with you soon about the Cosmos."
But they say soon all the time. They say soon. It's every week. Soon. What does soon even mean? What does it even mean?
God.
Does that mean like springs? Like spring spring for me means soon.
Don't even Oculus did the same. They triggered us with spring.
They did. I just want them to be, open about it, so we can all decide if we want to get this headset or not.
That's the thing in tech, though. Even if you look at No Man's Sky, Oculus, everything, it's built hype. Built hype.
But in the end, if you build it or not, in the end, if you can't deliver, people don't buy it. So if you keep on the reps that it's not a hybrid, then in the end, people will discover it anyway and they don't buy it. So what's the difference between,
For the audio listeners, Mike is removing his headphones and Nathie continues with his rant. The thing I have to say is...
It doesn't sell more copies if you keep it secret.
No. For our friends who don't live in the UK, Argos's website has been one of the shitest websites for about the last 10 years. I am in no way surprised. I think that might be bested by Sainsbury's, but their website is absolutely atrocious. It has been. The search for it has been terrible. I'm not surprised at all. This is totally legitimately probably a mistake. Whether or not it's the legitimate price, I wonder. I do hear from chat it's been taken down subsequently. So
we demand that HTC is going to open up about what's going on.
But GG, Argos. GG, all right?
When I tweeted about this, and again, highlighted my frustrations about not having information about the Cosmos, that Vive did actually reply and say there is information coming soon, but again, not to trigger Nathie, but...
Happy Mike. Soon, yes.
Coming soon.
Oh, hey, what a surprise.
So there you go. So... $699 is a very good price for the Cosmos. Whether it's true or not, we don't know yet, but I think it's likely. We'll probably hear more information in the coming weeks, fingers crossed. But who knows? Let's hope that this has a unique selling point.
Please.
Differentiates itself from the other headsets on the market right now.
If anyone says soon to Nathie at the party, you're standing in the corner for 5 minutes, all right?
Yeah, that's the word that triggers him the most. But let's move on then. Let's pass it over to Rowdy. It's time to have your mind blown, as he's going to give us some rowdy science about the fascinating upcoming technology from Neuralink. I'm super interested about this. We talked about covering it on the show before. Rowdy's probably the best person to talk about it, as he is a brain scientist after all. So go ahead.
Yeah, it's going to be a bit of a different one as well, because I don't want to temper the hype a little bit. I'm going to start with explaining first what basically Neuralink is.
You do want to temper the hype? In other words, you want to reduce it, or you want to amp up the hype?
Reduce it.
Okay, so you want to temper the hype.
A whole lot.
Okay,
a whole lot, because a lot of people have been talking about this stuff, even in the chat. First, I want to say, with nothing about this, what has been announced, none of that is new. This exists already for decades. This is nothing new. It is state of the art. It's the best of the best. But it's not something new. What they basically propose is a brain-machine interface, something that has been, like I said, people have been working on this already for many, many, many years, for decades even. I myself have been implanting electrodes into brains of certain animals in order to stimulate certain parts of their brain, which in essence is a brain-machine interface.
Question.
You use it. Go ahead.
Any VR users or no? Just...
No comments. No. But brain-machine interfaces are being used generally. Like what I did was single electrodes. That is the thing that is being used the most. Also in humans, that is being used. You use electrodes to treat certain disorders. For example, with Parkinson's disease, if what happens in Parkinson's disease is that people who have it, they don't produce enough dopamine. And dopamine is one of the neurotransmitters in your brain that is very crucial to your normal brain functioning, which means that if they don't have enough dopamine, they start with a certain tremor in certain parts of their body. Now, what happens is that they then treat that by giving them levodopa, which is a drug that is sort of like a precursor for dopamine. They use that, but eventually those cells will also get destroyed, which means that they don't have access to dopamine anymore. So what they did then, many, many decades ago, is implant an electrode in a very small region of the brain in order to stimulate that region and to reduce that tremor. And it's not a cure for Parkinson, but it's a very effective way, very invasive way, because the only way to get the electrode in the brain is you need to do neurosurgery. You need to actually insert that electrode in the brain. Something that they're talking about with Neuralink as well. And I still see those kind of techniques as very, very invasive, because you cannot implement an electrode into a brain without destroying other brain cells. There's just no way of doing it, even though it's very, like they talk about, and that's what I mean, it's state of the art, but it's nothing new. The state of the art is that the film that they've described to use that, to implement those electrodes, those wires, they're extremely thin, thinner than a hair, but you still need to get them into the brain. So you still will.
You're drilling bone, right? I mean, we're talking about, this is not keyhole surgery.
The problem is not drilling the bone. It's that you need to insert those electrodes into the brain. Especially for if you want to treat something like Parkinson's disease, the electrodes, they go very deep. They go to the thalamus, the subthalamic nucleus, which is like the bottom of the brain. And the only way to get to the bottom of the brain is to go the entire way through the brain without targeting any like specific structures.
Weren't they saying that they're kind of aiming this to be as invasive as like laser eye surgery?
Yeah, I don't believe that. Like they say they want to like implement it like LASIK, but it's still neurosurgery. You're still gonna have to drill in the head no matter what. And they've not developed it, because I did a little bit of research, like who developed this machine is actually DARPA, military technology, who has developed this specific computer. Because actually, if you go to the DARPA Twitter account, they were a little bit like, where is our credit? You know, we're the ones who like made this machine basically, and they've implemented that kind of technology in there.
So we've confirmed that DARPA are making super soldiers like, what was it?
Oh yeah, of course like
they are. The Lundgren movie, what was it? Universal Soldier? Holy shit.
Oh yeah.
Now the interesting part what they're talking about though with Neuralink is that they also want to start targeting vessels in the brain, so blood vessels. And if they then go into blood vessels, they can follow those blood vessels and then specifically target. I think that is still far, far away before they can actually do something like that. But I'm a little bit underwhelmed with the kind of things that they're suggesting, because they're, of course, with Elon Musk, we all know he knows how to build hype. Like he can take a concept like this and he talks about, we can use this for like sending telepathic messages. We can use this to make people like, if we like the motor cortex, it's very easy to target the motor cortex because it's on top of the brain. So same with like the somatory senses, so like smell and all those kinds of, on the top of the brain. Usually those are not the regions that we target with deep brain stimulation. Now what he talks about then is, we can use that to give people who have prosthetic limbs or like prosthetic whatever, that they have more control over that, which is true. You will be able to do that. But then the thing that they suggest in the paper that they write is they want to completely paraplegic or comatose people, they want to have them move a cursor on the screen, which I don't think, like, that's very unambitious to take that as they want to start clinical trials, and those are the clinical trials. But that is, I think back in 2001, that has already been done.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit, it is a lot of hype that they've built around this, but it's not really like the kind of technology that I would like to see. And I come to the ethical points later on if we do develop those kind of, because then the discussion gets really interesting, because I have a very particular opinion on this. I wrote a thesis on this as well. But you have Adam Marblestone, which is the neuroscience theorist over at Google's DeepMind. So he kind of knows what he's doing as well. And he tweeted about this as well. He said, you can think of Neuralink as the default background state of neurotech accelerated. So they are climbing Everest with the biggest and the best gear that they can have, the engineering that they have. But what they actually really need is a helicopter to get this intensive breakthrough to really top that. You want to ask something, Zim?
No, I was going to say, can you just run that metaphor again? Because I didn't quite get the helicopter. Just
Yeah. So you can see it as that they're climbing Mount Everest with the biggest gear, with the biggest team, with the better gear. They have all the money that is funding them. So they can go really fast up there, but what they really need is a helicopter that just brings them to like the next level.
Yeah, got it.
And I think that's a very good comparison, because they're working with state-of-the-art technology. They have the best scientists working on that. They have a billionaire that is supporting the project. They have the best computer technologists, the best neuroscientists, but at the same time, I mean, they can't make time move faster, no matter how much money they have. So, I mean, it's good, like, don't get me wrong, but the way that especially if you read the media about like, soon we'll have, brain machine interfaces and we can control objects with our mind, or we can, operate virtual reality with our mind, which is, by the way, it's also not new, because I actually looked it up and I sent you the trailer in the Twitter chat not that long ago. I remember that I kickstarted a game which was called Son of Nor. I don't know if any of you know the game. Son of Nor was a kick. It didn't do that well, but they worked together with, I have to look up how it was called, the Emotive Epoch, which was a brain-computer interface, a cap that you would put over your head, and they would use telekinesis in that game. And by really focusing on using telekinesis in the game, you could actually use telekinesis in the game. The problem with those kind of headsets out of your brain is that you introduce a lot of noise, because you need to extract the signal from the brain. You need to calculate the electric currents in your brain and translate them into an electric signal into the computer game. And by going invasive, because that's the thing that they're doing now. That is the project that they have suggested. That is the thing that they've announced, is that they managed to record 1,032 electrodes into the brain of a rat, which is very interesting. I don't think it's really necessary to record that much, because I think they've done it with 30 electrodes. They managed to also like record like a signal that was able to move a mouse cursor. So I don't think it's really necessary. More is always better, but there's nothing really new about this kind of technology that really makes me go like, oh wow, they've really solved a major problem here. They haven't.
Yeah. So if I understand it correctly, it's kind of like in software. If you wanted an API, a wall of switches that you can connect into. Today you've got to go invasive, and that's your main barrier to interfacing with a human being that way.
Yeah, the best way to do this would still to have a non-invasive manner that you would have, or what they want to go to is if you could go through the blood vessels, and then eventually like just overlay the brain in certain ways. I don't really know yet what the state of the art of the technology on that is there, but we're definitely not there yet.
Is that with that going through the blood vessels, right? I think instead of coming from the outside, you're going from the inside with like a nanobot network or something like that. That would
something like that would be feasible. But also I think there was which movie is it again, where they introduce like a skull cap, where they remove like basically the top of the skull, and then they implement a computer chip here, so to dissipate the heat.
I was thinking Hannibal Lecter. I don't think that's the one you're talking about.
Yeah, I think they call it like a skull cap or something. I have to look it up. Maybe people in the chat know it. But what they basically do is that they replace like a portion of the skull, and they put it on there, and then you have those wires that then go out and go into the brain to all different kinds of regions, and then boost your. And then we come to the ethical part, boost the intelligence. Now, throughout this entire conference that Elon Musk gave, he really proposes a way to combat artificial intelligence, because I think we all know that Elon sees this as artificial intelligence as a certain threat to human society, and there's a very realistic threat, because even if we have a benign artificial intelligence, there's still a lot of problems for human society, because there's a very cool documentary on YouTube. Don't go watch it now, go and watch it after the Alt Space events. It's called Humans Need Not Apply. It's a 15-minute documentary, and it basically talks about how we as humans are slowly progressing to an era where we're just simply not necessary. Like if you look at a lot of the jobs that we have now, we have self-driving cars that are common. We have taxi drivers that will be losing their job, because it's just more efficient, cheaper, and more reliable to have a computer doing that kind of job. And the documentary talks about that really nicely, because you have a lot of jobs. If you think, I have a university degree, I'm a medical doctor, or I do risk analysis at a bank or whatever, I'm safe. No way. I mean, there are already algorithms being in development right now that can perform better than any general practitioner out there based on the data that they perceive. You have risk analysis algorithms that can outperform any human, can do it twice as fast, can do much better jobs. You have, if you think, I'm a YouTuber, I make creative content, there's no way a computer can make creative content. Screw that. There's already computers right now doing that, and there's a lot of companies investing a lot of money in video editing algorithms that can automatically choose which kind of piece of content would work better next to which kind of. So, I mean, watch the documentary, because it can tell way better than I can. But that is a serious threat for artificial intelligence. Now, when you get to the other side, what Elon Musk tries to propose is like, we're going to make a brain-machine interface, because ultimately the way that's to survive as humanity is to ultimately integrate with this kind of technology, that we become one with this kind of, and I agree with that. But that becomes a huge ethical problem, because which people are going to be able to afford that? Mm-hmm. And that are the people, the rich people, the ones that can afford these kind of technologies. And eventually there's going to come a point that you're going to go to the job market and you're going to be competing with these kind of people. Mm-hmm. That imagine that you apply for a job that requires a lot of heavy lifting, and you're competing with a guy that has 10 times the amount that you can lift. I'm just saying something simple.
That's already the case.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like that's already happening now. But you imagine that for like as a medical doctor. Imagine that as a lawyer. Imagine that as a banker. All these kind of jobs will all depend on these kind of things. And I think that this problem does not really. This solution doesn't really solve this kind of problem, but it's basically like we see healthcare we see it as something that is normal, but in a lot of countries they don't have that. And this will widen that gap even more, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. I did a thesis on that where I discussed the use of drugs. There was like in the student environment, there were a lot of students that started using drugs that were specifically made for ADHD. You had Ritalin and those kind of things. And students would start taking them during their exams in order to focus. It was sort of like a doping amongst like students. And the ethical question that arises then is that when you come to the job market, you're competing with people who obtained their degree then in a maybe more dishonest way compared to the people who didn't use those kind of like drugs to improve their brain focusing mentality. But I think that there's a lot of ethical questions around this kind of technology if we ever get to that point. Well, I mean, when we ever get to this point, because it will happen. But the technology like it is proposed now and like it's portrayed in the media, it's two different kind of technologies.
Yeah, I really like the idea that, you know, people with physical disabilities will have an interface to a computer that they can control it to enhance their lives. You know, I think that is great, and have more independence. I think that's great. I am fascinated by it. And I would also recommend checking out the Elon Musk, Joe Rogan interview. It's like 2.5 hours long. It's super scary as well. And Elon touches on a lot of points that Rowdy says, like AI is eventually going to happen. We've already, uncorked the genie. We can't put it back now. It's too late. We're already on this path, but to compete, that Neuralink we're going to have to use it to integrate with AI to be part of the future. But really, you know, I think what they perceive and what is, like you say, is possible is two different things. Like they kind of give you the dream,
the potential,
jack into the Matrix and just learn kung fu in a single click. Well, that's just not possible.
But I think that the offloading aspect from the Joe Rogan podcast, which I managed to catch live, and it was very interesting. I agree with you, Mike, and I'll second up that. I think it's something that people should listen to as like mandatory listening, is the concept that at the moment, and in a non-invasive manner, to Rowdy's earlier point, like mobile phones are offloading storage from our brains today.
Yeah, it's like an extension.
It's an extension, exactly. And so there's as you say, we're already down that road. That's already happening. But if you look at us as a vessel, independent of those things that we're becoming reliant upon, all these networked systems, we're pretty, we're pretty unintelligent in that little bubble. There's not much we can do beyond that. We're not networked. We're not growing. We're not learning in the same way machine learning happens. So you can see where the threat comes. The threat comes from redundancy, because it's like, well, why would I go to a fish for open heart surgery? Well, I wouldn't, because it's just sitting there flopping around. And the same thing that Rowdy's saying.
And the really nice thing in the documentary Humans Need Not Apply is that they compare us to horses. It's like what they're saying basically in the beginning of the podcast is like, horses back before there were cars, they were saying, it's actually nice. It's just a lot of new jobs that will be opening for horses in the city because they don't need to like do so many things, on the land anymore. They don't need to pull those cars anymore. But we all know that wasn't what happened. As soon as like horses became redundant, the only people still riding horses are people who actually like horses. That's it.
Yeah. No,
or they make frikandel of horses.
Yeah, of that.
Yeah,
some countries.
Findes crispy pancakes. But yeah, no, I totally agree. But I think it is fascinating, and
Definitely.
John Carmack from Oculus visited Elon Musk and went to the Neuralink presentation. He said it was super interesting. He actually, did I get the quote? No, I haven't got the quote. But he said it was super fascinating. And I think something like this in the very, very far, far future will integrate with VR. And when you're talking to characters in game, just as an example that came up in my head, that they would be able to understand and know your emotions. So if you're excited, they would know that you're excited. Like, you need to calm down. We got to go in this mission together. You need to calm down first. Or but you're scared. Don't worry. We're going to go through this together. And that kind of.
I agree with that, but I don't think that that will be an invasive manner. I really don't think that, because even if it's LASIK surgery, it'd be crazy to do that to your brain. Like, I mean, seriously, I don't see that happen unless they can find a way to do it non-invasive. And with non-invasive, I mean that they don't damage your brain cells, because brain cells are the only cells in your body that do not regenerate. They do not regenerate. So if they're gone, they're gone.
So let's do a little quick round table then to round it off, because we're going to be live in Alt Space in 5 minutes. Who out of you, like in the future, would be willing to have something like this done as a procedure?
Oh yeah, definitely.
If it enhanced your life.
Yeah.
I'm super surprised that Zim put his hand up. Super surprised.
Why?
Only because of previous talks about radio waves with wireless adapters and stuff near your head.
But this is a physical interface. This is a bit different. So the after effects of something that isn't the trouble I have with wireless technology that close to your head, and someone mentioned it earlier about 5G on a headset, for instance, which I would also steer clear of, is that you're trying to catch a fish and you decide to drop an H-bomb in the ocean. That's the problem, is that by design, the technology that you're using to get the effect is way overcooked on what you're trying to achieve, and the effect of the unmetered effect of that's having is a giant question mark. I'm not willing to have pointed at at something that's too important for me. So that's the difference between the two, Mike.
But I think we're all willing to be cyborgs and be like
let's cyborg it up.
Yeah. Ultimately, we won't have a choice.
Yeah.
I think you're right. I think
if we have the money for it, because as you said, if it's for the rich.
But that's the thing. That's the thing that I think is the biggest problem, that this is going to create an even bigger. We even have it now. We have a huge gap in healthcare with people who have access to it and people who don't, even in countries that are well off. Now imagine Deus Ex. I don't want to start dystopia sounding dystopian, but that's a likely scenario if you have these kind of technologies.
Yeah. The one thing we do know, though, is that regardless of how good AI gets, there will never be 4 robots that will be as funny as entertaining and as informative about VR as we are. So
the funny part is there are
always be safe.
There are only 3 humans here.
That's true. People say I'm a robot.
Yeah. And funny enough, Job Simulator isn't even that much of a silly game. If you think about it.
It's just a serious future for us. Wow.
Yeah.
Just don't use Windows.
Yeah, that's it.
I gotta say though, lads, one thing here, as I know Mike's heading to round the show up so we can get on to our party bus. Congratulations everybody, pat on the back. It's been 100 episodes. This is awesome. And I think it's something that since the very beginning, had promise, but it's become a show that, sadly, there are some episodes I've watched back 4 or 5 times by accident because I'm listening back to a segment to pick up a bit of news, and then I just end up listening through the whole thing again and again and again, and that says something. I think it's a really entertaining cast. I enjoy every week we get the opportunity to come together. I'm glad we can share it with the world, and I hope we have years of doing this.
It's crazy. It's been 2 years ago we started.
It's nuts. It's nuts. I think on the next episode, I'm going to do a little segment on how we started it and, the journey along the way, because I think that is an interesting story to tell. Nice. We just had so much to cover in this week's show, as you know, because we're running late anyway. So I will just remind you, it's a weekly VR, AR, and MR talk show, live streamed every Saturday, YouTube, Facebook, and on Twitch. Catch the show live in VR through big screen TV and watch it with other like-minded VR enthusiasts, or check out the audio version, which is on iTunes, SoundCloud, Anchor, and Spotify. Like we said at the beginning of the show, we're now going to hop into Alt Space. There is an event in there created for us. There is only space for 40 people, so get in there quick if you want to hang out with us, ask us some questions. Maybe we can talk about this whole neural thing more in there, because I think we could talk about this for hours. But I think it was a super fascinating topic, and I really appreciate Rowdy taking the time to do some research into it.
No problem. love to.
I think the paths of VR and this technology will converge at some point. And hopefully we're still doing this show when it gets to that point, so we can tell you all about it then as well. So yeah, we'll see you hopefully in Altspace. If you enjoyed the show, let us know, leave a like and subscribe.
Also, I'll mention, so for anyone who is watching now, doesn't have VR, would like to watch the party, I'm casting it over at youtube.com/ZimTalk5. So I'll be live in about 10 minutes now. So
awesome.
All
Awesome.
right.
Hope you enjoyed the show. See you next week as always. And until then, bye-bye for now. Take care.
Bye.
See ya.